Hey everyone, and welcome back to News to Astonish, where we discuss comics, movies, games, and more. Welcome back to another top 10 video. This one's going to be a fun one. I know how much you all like my top 10s. In today's video, we're going to discuss the top 10 villains that should appear in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now, this is going without saying that this is my opinion, my personal top 10 list of villains. If you think other villains should appear in Marvel's Spider-Man 2, sound off in the comment section below, but do so respectfully amongst yourselves. I do read your comments and I like responding to them. But before I get started, I want you all to click on like, comment, subscribe, and click on bell notifications so you don't miss anything. I post videos on a daily basis and I do live streams usually twice a week. With all of that being said, let's kick things off with number 10, Venom. I really want to get this out of the way for a couple of reasons. For anyone that's played Marvel's Spider-Man, you've probably seen the post-credit scene with Harry Osborn in a tank concealed with what appears to be the Venom symbiote. Who knows what elements of the Venom storyline out there that could be adapted into the sequel. There are plenty of stories that can be borrowed and adapted that we wouldn't have enough time to go over which story is best to adapt. A lot of us are assuming that Insomniac Games is taking a different approach by possibly making Harry Osborn the first host of the Venom symbiote. Let's just hope that it's Eddie Brock who appears as Venom, but that's a discussion for another video. Now, considered to be more of an anti-hero than a villain in the comics, Venom made his first appearance in the last pages of The Amazing Spider-Man number 299 in 1988. Venom was proven to be a lethal foe and antagonistic to the web-slinger, almost to the point of being downright creepy, adding an element of horror in the comics of The Amazing Spider-Man. Venom is also an extremely formidable opponent, which is why we definitely need him to make an appearance in the game. Honestly, I prefer Venom to appear towards the end of the game, maybe have more of a grand story in Marvel Spider-Man 3, but I'm just far-reaching at this point. Number 9, Green Goblin. Considered to be Spider-Man's arch nemesis, most recognizable, and one of Spider-Man's most popular villains, the Green Goblin would definitely be a fine addition to the sequel's Rogues Gallery. Norman Osborn had quite the presence in the first Marvel Spider-Man game, running for mayor at first, then stepping down from his mayor campaign quickly. Technically not a villain, but definitely a lot of hints alluding to Norman's path to villainy. One of the reasons why Norman Osborn's Green Goblin would be a fun addition to the game is because of the potential improved aerial combat we could get with the inclusion of the Green Goblin, not to mention the better and spectacular quick-time events that we might possibly get in the sequel. So what are your thoughts about Norman Osborn's Green Goblin appearing in the game? You sound off down in the comment section below. Number 8, the Lizard. The Lizard is another classic and formidable foe of Spidey's, and the post-credit scenes of both Marvel Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales has given us more of a reason why he should appear in the sequel. Beneath the scaly exterior of the Lizard lies a brilliant and gifted surgeon who has doctorates in biology and biochemistry. A supporting character like Dr. Connors, who's both a mentor and dear friend to Peter Parker, would be a perfect addition to the game. Although a mentor turning rogue may feel too familiar, it's probably best to have Dr. Connors explore the characteristics and science behind the symbiote substance, and as a subplot to have Dr. Connors explore the regenerative abilities of lizards or symbiotes, since they also have the ability to regenerate lost limbs, and that can serve as a motive for Dr. Connors to develop a serum to regenerate lost limbs. I think I'm onto something here. Insomniac Games, please email me. Number 7, Sandman. Sandman could be treated kind of like how Shocker was in the first Marvel Spider-Man game. You just get word that Sandman's robbing banks, and it's up to you to stop William Flint Marko. Not exactly the brightest villain in Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, Flint Marko is also a formidable villain who can pack a punch. I'm sure a subplot involving Sandman would be fun to see transpire in Marvel Spider-Man 2. We even got a reference of the Sandman in the first Spider-Man game containing a vial of sand. Maybe we'll see Sandman appear in the sequel. Number 6, Mysterio. Honestly, why didn't we get Mysterio in the first game? I feel like he's too much of a classic villain for him to be absent. We did get someone cosplaying as the fishbowl-clad villain in the first Marvel Spider-Man game. Throughout the years, Spider-Man has cracked that old fishbowl head of his an unnecessary number of times. I'm thinking Mysterio's shenanigans can serve as a subplot in the story, at best a DLC. The confrontation between Mysterio and Spidey would probably be hilarious since Mysterio is all smoke and mirrors, hence making it a good reason why Mysterio's appearance should serve as a subplot or at least a DLC. What are your thoughts? Do you think Mysterio should have more of a serious role in the sequel? Sound off in the comment section below. Number 5, Morbius. Morbius, the living vampire, could be a perfect addition to the game, serving as a dark element of the story. Morbius's inclusion is also a perfect companion to Peter Parker's Black Suit arc. A vampire hunt with the aid and power of the Black Suit seems synonymous with one another. The only couple of questions I have is, when should Morbius appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2, or should he be DLC material as well? You let me know what are your thoughts about Morbius making a possible appearance in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. You sound off down in the comment section below. Number 4, Hydro Man. Morris Bench is from the Bronx, and he's right up there with the Sandman in terms of power. In the comics, Morris Bench was knocked overboard by Spider-Man while a powerful experimental generator was being lowered into the ocean for testing. Bench's cellular structure was altered due to the exposure of the volcanic gases, turning him into the Hydro Man. I can imagine a Hydro Man and Sandman team up since their powers are pretty similar. Also, it would mirror the team up of Electro and Vulture we got in the first Marvel Spider-Man game. Just imagine fighting those two in their gargantuan forms. That would be insane, and it'll look amazing in crisp 4K. Let me know if you'd like to see something like that in the sequel. Number 3, Tinkerer. I know what you're all going to say, but Ronnie, we already had the Tinkerer in Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Well, I want Phineas Mason's version of the Tinkerer in this game. The Tinkerer is a brilliant inventor and technician who designs advanced weaponry for criminals. He can pretty much create anything from scraps, spare parts, and even household appliances. Physically, the Tinkerer is no match for Spider-Man, but criminals enlisting the aid of Phineas's work would totally put a thorn in Spider-Man's side. Somehow, I doubt Insomniac Games is willing to bring another version of the Tinkerer to this game. Only question is, how would the Tinkerer fit in the story? Perhaps he could be of use to Norman Osborn. Honestly, the Tinkerer we got in Spider-Man Miles Morales wasn't that great of a villain. She was more of an annoying brat with a grudge than a villain. Number 2, Alistair Smythe. Son of famous robotic expert Spencer Smythe, Aleister was the inventor of the Spider Slayers, which are a series of robots designed to destroy Spider-Man, and were commissioned by J. Jonah Jameson. Spencer has failed to kill Spider-Man on numerous occasions. Aleister ended up inheriting his father's legacy and gained a newfound hatred towards Spider-Man. I'm thinking Alistair Smythe can play a big role into Spider-Man's attempted demise. You can say that Alistair Smythe may have already had some bad history with Spider-Man during his early years in the Marvel Spider-Man game universe. Bring him in and have him team up with Norman Osborn shortly before Norman ends up experimenting on himself. I think Alistair can serve as a precursor. Alistair attempts to kill Spider-Man, fails, Norman fires Alistair, or perhaps even kills him because of his failure. Norman takes the Goblin serum and goes after Spider-Man. It's a different interpretation of the character, but still similar to his comic book roots. What are your thoughts about my interpretation? Do you think Alistair Smythe can play a different role in the sequel? Let me know in the comment section below. Number 1, Carnage. Okay, we haven't even seen Venom yet, just the symbiote, so how can we possibly get Carnage to appear in the sequel? Wouldn't that be considered shoehorning a character just for the sake of pleasing all of the Carnage fans out there? Yes. So, Insomniac Games should do what they did with the Venom symbiote in the first Marvel Spider-Man game. Save it for a post-credit scene. That's right, let's say it's Eddie Brock who ends up in prison. We hear a voice coming from the cell adjacent to him. We only see a silhouette of Cletus Cassidy talking about how much he's going to get out there and kill everybody non-stop. An offspring of the symbiote that remains on Eddie jumps off of him and latches onto Cletus because it finds Cletus' desire to harm attractive, or something like that along the lines. This is just assuming Venom makes an appearance in the game. Remember, this is my top 10 list of villains that should appear. If you think Carnage shouldn't make an appearance, let alone in a post-credit scene, you let me know otherwise. Aside from that, that's it for my top 10 villains that should appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Didn't see a villain on my list that you'd like to see in the sequel? Comment down below. I'd like to engage with all of you in the comment section. Yes, I do read your comments, once again. You can even make your own top 10 list of villains you'd like to see in the sequel. With all of that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on bell notifications so you all don't miss anything. And as always, I will see you all in the next comic panel.